Uh, Jai Shri Krishna. Good evening. Recently, I had taken a series of talks on the 10 Mahavidyas, and the Mahavidyas all live in the cremation ground. So we would start the talk with a meditation related to the Mahavidyas and connected to the cremation ground. So if you all agree, we'll do that. It has nothing connected to the topic which we are going to talk about today. But if you're all willing, we'll do that meditation for 10 minutes before starting. So I don't know.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can do it.
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, please close your eyes. Okay. Can you, Keto, can you start the music? Music.
Yes.
Yeah. Loud, full color. I need this. Bus. That's enough. Oh, please breathe with the music. Close your eyes, breathe with the music. Now we are going to visualize the cremation ground, the smashan, and just visualize it and think of all the people who have ended their journey of life over here. And there are countless people. And when we think of all those people, we feel a certain tremor moving through our body. Feel that tremor moving through the body. Now we are going to practice for the moment of death. So we visualize ourselves at home, lying on the bed, waiting for the moment of death. Before death comes, it gives us certain symptoms, certain signs that it is about to come. And let us try to experience those symptoms. When we are born, we experience life through the five senses. And the five senses come in contact with reality, which is known as the five elements: the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the wind element, and the sky element, ether element. Whatever we touch, see, feel, whether it is gross like the table outside or subtle like our thoughts and emotions, everything is composed of the five elements. So it is these five elements which have given us the opportunity to experience life. And now they are going to take their characteristic back. They are going to take their pattern back. And this is one of the symptoms that death is approaching. And we say thank you to them, that because of them we were able to experience and enjoy life. And the first element to go will be the earth element. When the earth element takes its sanskar back, it takes its pattern back, it takes its function back, we will feel as if we've lost all support. You're sitting on the chair, but somebody has pulled away the chair and you're sitting halfway in the air. Similarly, you're lying on the bed and somebody has taken the bed away, and you will feel there is no bed, no support. And this will go away for some time and it will come back. Similarly, with the water element, when the water element takes its function back, we'll feel as if our whole body is drying up, as if there's so much heat in the body now. And we'll ask someone that, please give me a little water to drink. Visualize yourself, all the juices of the body drying up. And with the water element going, the capacity to experience taste, the glands of taste, we can't taste anything for some time, that goes away. And then it comes back. Similarly, the fire element. And when the fire element goes, we are lying on the bed, and for some time we will feel as if we've been blinded, we can't see anything. It is the fire element which allows us to see. It has given us comfort throughout. So thank the fire element, and we don't feel upset when we see we are blind for some time. We know it's going to come back. And when the wind element goes, we won't be able to feel anything. We'll touch something, but there'll be no sensation. We'll lose all our sensations. So just visualize yourself, all sensations are lost. And when the sky element goes, we'll suddenly become deaf. The wind element gave us the freedom of movement, and the sky element gave us the space of the whole world to move in. And when the sky element goes, the ether goes, we suddenly lose the capacity to hear, we become deaf for some time. And these symptoms will come and go, and as the moment of death approaches, these symptoms will suddenly become all crunched together, will come together. In the final moments, just before death comes, we'll feel a deep pulling in the body. Visualize that all your energy from every small corner of the body is gathering together and coming below the backbone as a small dot, a small bindu beneath the backbone. The rest of the body is now totally lifeless. Everything has been pulled beneath the backbone. And feel this pulling. This pulling is like the string of a bow. It is on this string that the soul is going to leave the body. And as we feel this, all the energy concentrated just below the backbone. And in the last 3 minutes, before we die, we will experience our whole life in reverse order. The old man will become a young child again. So in 3 minutes, we will go through the experiences of life in reverse time. Just sense the milestones of your life going back till you were a young child. Decide what you want to change, where you want to change, where you made a mistake, what you want to change. And then, as the moment of death approaches, in the final moment, we'll forget everything. There'll be a blinding light, and in light, we forget everything. And we'll forget even our own name. Supposing I see you and I can't remember your name. Similarly, you'll be trying to look for your own name, but you can't remember your name. The moment has come, and that is the moment where the soul, visualize the soul going, opening an aperture in the head and going out. And look at your lifeless body from above. See 4 to 6 people come and take the body to the cremation ground and watch your body burning away to ashes. Nothing is left. Ashes is the absolute of the body. Nothing remains. And you're watching your body burn away. And then the fire also dies out, just the ashes remain. And then you feel a gust of wind which blows away the ashes and just emptiness. And we will meditate on that emptiness for 1 minute. Breathe with the music. Meditate on that emptiness for 1 minute. Slowly come back and slowly open your eyes. I must say I'm really surprised that so many people are interested in this law of octaves. You'll have to pay a lot of attention to understand this law. The Indian Shastra says that in the beginning was Shiva, and there was no creation, nothing, but just one principle, and we can take Shiva as that principle which never changes, the eternal principle, the absolute, or you can call it God. And the Shastra says that from his own self he created Shakti, the energy, and it is that energy which went to create the universe. So today we are going to study by which laws the universe was created. And there are two fundamental laws. The first is the law of three, and the second is the law of seven or the law of octaves. So these are the two basic laws in life. Everything in life moves according to these two fundamental laws. It takes some time to study these laws, and it takes much more time to be able to see them in operation in our daily lives. And we study them in two ways. We study them outside in the universe around us, and we study their working within our psychic structure. And so there is a parallel study of the universe outside and of our inner psyche at the same time. Whenever truth expresses itself, and I do wish you all, I hope that in this lifetime you do reach to that state where our eyes can see the truth of life. That truth expresses itself only through these two laws, the law of three and the law of octaves. So we are going to study these two laws and try to see their working in life and within ourselves, in every thought, in every feeling, in every sensation, and every movement that happens within us. This law has been expressed in many religious systems in many ways. The law of three in India was called as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. In the Christian theology, it is called as the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. So the law of three has been expressed in each and every religion. नहीं मैंने आँच ऊपर से हाँ किस साइड में राइट या and we can see this law of three in so many theological systems throughout the world. And when this law of three operates, it operates according to another law, which is called the law of octaves. This word octave has come from the musical scale. So when we use the musical scale do, re, mi, fa, so, la, si, 7 notes, and then the next note is the next do of the next octave, so that 8 together is called as an octave. The word octave means 8. But what we have today in its present form has been given to us by Gurdjieff and mainly by his disciple Ospinski. So the form we have it in today has been written on by Ospinski, and that is what we are going to talk about. The word octave means 8. That is the basic meaning. And the law came out of the observation of the musical scales. Now, in our Indian Shastra, we have something called Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard. That which is heard. And all the Vedas, all the Upanishads are Shruti, that the Rishi, not with this ordinary ear, with some inner yogic ear, he was able to hear something and he wrote that down, and that is how the Vedas and the Upanishads were created. Similarly, 2500 years ago, Pythagoras, with a different ear, he heard the vibrations of the planets. He heard the music of the planets as they moved around the sun. And he noted this down, and that is what became the musical octave. Right? And it is in the West, we can say it was Pythagoras who first came about it. In the East, there was a rishi called Pingal, and Pingal was a great mathematician, and he heard this sound of the, what do you call, spheres, as Pythagoras had heard it, and he wrote this down. Pingal is more famous also because his elder brother was Panini, the one who constructed the Sanskrit grammar. And many people say that Panini was also the Rishi Patanjali who wrote the Yoga Sutras. So this hearing of higher sound is called as Shruti. In that moment of hearing, there is no interference of thought, no interference of memory, because thought is memory, no interference of any sensation or feeling. It is, the mind becomes like an empty cup, just ready to receive the rainfall, and the Shruti is that which is heard, and that is how the rishis heard this. And they later, to explain it, they put it into the musical octave. Now, this figure of 8 in the musical octave, which we will see, is that when from one do to another do, or from one sa to another sa, there is a doubling of frequency. Oh, we got it. Yeah. There's a doubling of frequency, and it is what we are going to talk about. This note, this law of octaves, is according to the musical scale. We are going to use the musical scale to express it. That does not mean other spectrums do not follow this law. Spectrum of light, we have the spectrum of radio waves, and we have so many other waves. All of them follow this law, but it is most easy to express in the musical scale. Pythagoras created his own, what you call, cosmology, and it was all based on figures of 8. Maybe this was known in China, in ancient China. China had a religion which was called Taoism, and Taoism has two principles, the yin and the yang, and the yin and yang are expressed in lines of eight, which are called lines of six, which are called hexagrams, and there are 64 hexagrams, again 8 into 8, and we can see that in the I Ching. So the Taoist cosmology was of 6 lines called a hexagram, and they had 8 into 8, 64 hexagrams. When Buddha started his teaching, he called it the Eightfold Path. Patanjali calls it as Ashtang Yoga, the 8, what do you call, limbs of yoga, Ashtanga of yoga. When we play chess, we have 64 squares, 8 into 8. That is also based on the, what you call, Law of Octaves. In 1860, a scientist from the Royal Society of Chemistry, his name was John Newland, and he suggested that all chemical elements had, he said that they belong to 8 different families. And because he based his, what you call, observations on the laws of Pythagoras, he was ridiculed in the scientific community, and he was thrown out of the Royal Society of Chemists. And because Pythagoras was not accepted in science, he was called a magician, not accepted in science as such. 10 years later, Mendeleev came out, was the founder of the periodic table, and he was the first one to put the periodic table in front of the scientific community. And when the scientists saw the periodic table, they saw 8 families, and in each family, the repetition in the periodic table was at 8. And he'll just, I think, Keta will just explain a little to you.
So in the periodic table, you typically, depending on how many electrons are there in the final shell, you classify it into 8 groups. So the first one electron is your hydrogen, lithium, sodium, 2 electrons, the calcium family. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So these are the 5. So these are the 8 families that are there in the periodic table. The other interesting thing to note is that, let's say if we pick one of these families, which is the halogens, chlorine, bromine, iodine, every subsequent horizontal line, there is almost a doubling of the atomic weight. So from 9 to 70, 70 into 35. And the reason it's an approximate doubling and not the exact doubling is because science just considers the physical and chemical properties of an object. There are also, according to Gurdjieff, cosmic properties, which is the role of this element in the cosmic design. And if that were to be considered, and if that were to be added in these weights, then it would be an exact doubling. So this also follows the law of octaves.
Now, yeah.
Just one minor announcement.
Yeah.
If anyone's phone is connected to the Wi-Fi here, the BAVYP guest Wi-Fi, I just request you to disconnect it. We are having limited bandwidth and this live streaming is going on. If anyone's phone is connected to the guest Wi-Fi here, request you just disconnect it for the next 1 hour.
So what about elements in the middle there? 21 through those elements?
So these are those transition elements. So these elements are as you sort of go to lower, let's say heavier elements, there are some intermediate stages that come in. But most of the elements that we are concerned with or that we observe, right, or that we use are typically in these 8 families.
Then when we Again, go to our Shastras, that is, we say Krishna was the eighth child. So again, we see the law of octaves there. Definitely, uh, Krishna's mother Devaki must have passed through an octave of suffering to be able to give birth to a child like Krishna. And when we see in the Mahabharata, we see Bhishma. Bhishma was also the eighth child. And when we compare Bhishma and Krishna, when Krishna was born, the jails opened, all the doors of the jail opened. And when we see Bhishma, his whole life, he was jailed in his pratigya, in his promise, right? So, I mean, there's a beautiful comparison. We can go into it some other time. It's a very deep comparison where we study Krishna and Bhishma side. But again, there, and again, when we go into Sankhya, they call it as Ashtada Prakruti, the five elements, Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. The Ashtada Prakriti, they call it the eightfold Prakriti. Now, this word Prakriti, pra means before, kruti means creation. That which was there before creation. Right? And this state of before creation, my teacher used to call it a state of inky darkness. And it is a state in which there are three forces, but those three forces have not expressed themselves. So before we study the law of octaves, we will study the law of three forces. These three forces were in that infinite emptiness, but because they were in a state of rhythm and balance, no creation was possible. But it was the desire of the Absolute, the will of the Absolute to have creation. In our Shastra, we call any Ichha Shakti, his desire energy to have creation. And so, out of this state of rhythm and balance, one force appeared. Okay, I will create. And that force is called the active force. In Sankhya terminology, it is called as Rajas, the active force, Rajas. So, out of that state of rhythm and balance, one force appeared, and we call it as the active force. And it says, I want to create the universe. I want to create the universe. But how does one create the universe? To create anything, you need material. You need something with which to create. When we were children, we played with the Lego. So we had the Lego bricks to create. Or we played with plasticine. So we had plasticine to create. So what is the basic material to create? So another force came out of that, which was the passive force. It told the active force that you want to create the universe. You use me as the material to create the universe. And that is called the passive force. In again Sankhya, in our Shastra, in that terminology, it is called as Tamaguna. The active wants to create, but Tamagun wants to become the object of creation. It wants to become the material of creation. Now, where there is desire to create and where there is the material to create, there has to be a third force, and that is the force which balances the two. I want to build a house. It's the desire to create. I need to use cement concrete to build the house. That is the material to create. But how much of cement concrete goes where, how it is placed, some force has to balance these two forces, and that is the intelligence which balances the active and passive. In Western terminology, it is called as the neutralizing force. In our Indian terminology, it is called as Satwa, that which balances Tamas and Rajas. Now we can see this in operation in everything in our lives. Wherever there is creation, right from a gross table or to the most subtle thought or emotion, everything is a result of the meeting of the three forces, right? So supposing I want to build a factory, so my desire to build the factory is the active force. But when I go to build the factory, obstacles are going to come. It's not going to be smooth running, right? Maybe next day the government increases the price of cement, or the cement producers get together and say, we make a cartel, we're not going to give it easily, right? Stone may not be available, this, that. So when I go to build, my desire to build a factory is met with resistance. This resisting force is called the passive force, right? And it is the intelligence which will tell me that how to get over the passive force. If the Satwa, the neutralizing force, neutralizes my desire, then won't be able to build the factory. I'll make a loss and come back home. But if I create the intelligence at how to overcome the obstacles, so the neutralizing force neutralizes the obstacles, I will go on the way to build my factory. So in everything, it is these three forces which we must study, how they work and how they create everything. Now, the basis of this law is that everything is vibration. Everything is vibration. And according to this law, God is also, the absolute is also a vibration. Now, when we say everything is vibration, supposing we say sound is a vibration of air molecules, then we'll say air molecules is a vibration of what? Right? So the rishis said that which is vibrating, whether it is in a state, if we take it as Shiva, it is in a state of non-vibrating. If we take it as Shakti, it is in a state of vibrating. So that which was the absolute, which is that which vibrates, they called it as that, Tat. They called it as Tat, that. And that vibrating as sky, as the air, molecules of sky, they call it as Akash, Tatva. So Tatva is thatness as Akash. That molecule, that vibrating as the element of air which gives us the feeling of touch, thatness Tatva, Vayu Tatva, thatness vibrating as air. Can you see what I am trying to say? So thatness vibrating as fire, thatness vibrating as water, thatness vibrating as what do you call the earth element. So it is, everything was that, Tat. And then they came to, in the Upanishads you have a word which is Tattvamasi. You are that, thou art that. Thou art that. So that vibration which became Akash, whether it is a vibration or beyond vibration, we are that and we can experience that. And how do we experience that? We move through these five elements in such a way that we go beyond and experience that which is in all of them vibrating, and that vibrating part we call as the absolute. Now, if we were to make a scale from subtle to gross, then the most subtle vibration would be the absolute or God. And from the absolute we would say that all worlds came, sun, all suns came, sun. And we would call this as a ray ray of creation. Just try to understand this. Each tattva, each element in our Shastra terminology has a subtle vibration which in the Shastra is called as tanmatra. Now, supposing I'm eating food, right? So the gross food is made of the 5 elements. There's a water part of the food, there's a physical part, the earth part of the food, there is air in the food, there is the sky element, because between the different atoms there is also sky element in the food. So what I'm eating is the 5 elements. Now if I can just stop my thinking and try to bring the energy of sensitivity into the food, then at one point the physical food will disappear. I'm just moving into taste, with taste which is the vibration of water element, right? Can you get across what? And at that time I move into taste, so I'm moving from the element, the gross element, to the subtle element, the tanmatra. I'm moving from gross vibration to subtle vibration. If I go into that subtle vibration and at one moment even food disappears, just the vibration of that taste remains, then beyond that vibration is that which is vibrating, and I may get a glimpse of that, I may get a sensitivity of that, and that is God. And this is the journey through which we reach God through the 5 elements. We can take another example. Supposing I'm listening to music. So music is the thatness of the sky element. It is the guna of the sky element. So it is the sky element which I am listening to. And at one point I dissolve into the music. So the physical form of the music which my ears are hearing, it goes away. And I go into the deeper sensitivity which is the tanmatra of the sky element, and I sort of merge with those vibrations. Then I have merged from the gross to the subtle, and maybe beyond that I touch that which is vibrating as the sky element, and if I get a glimpse of that, I get a glimpse of God. So this is a what do you call, if we meditate on the 5 elements in this way, then we understand what is being explained over here, that there is something beyond which is the basis of all vibrations. The rishis called it as that, and that is that which is vibrating as thatness, which is the tattva, the 5 tattvas. So the original vibration is the absolute God, and that same vibration, as the frequency decreases, highest vibration, less subtle, most frequency decreases, at a certain level it becomes physical matter. But the vibration, it is the same vibration, right? It is just the frequency of the vibrations has, what do you call, decreased. It has become more gross. And when it becomes gross, when it comes into that gross plane, the Shastra calls it as bhu. We are in the bhu universe, the cellular universe, the physical universe. So right from God to the most, what you call, dead stone, what we call a dead stone or a mineral or a rock, if we call that as nadir and we call that as absolute, everything is nothing but vibrations, different frequency of vibrations, and it is these vibrations which are come together to create the physical universe, and how they come together is the basis of the 3 forces, the law of the 3 forces. Now, what are these 5 elements? Let us just try to explain these 5 elements. Can you explain the movement from the... So our Shastra says that first there was Bindu. Bindu is just a dot. First there was Bindu. And that Bindu was the expression of the absolute, expression of Shiva, called Shakti. The Bindu stretched itself. So when it stretched itself, it became the universe. The universe is nothing but the stretching of that bindu. In the stretching of that bindu, space was created for God to play in the universe. And this stretching created time at the same time. So space and time was born out of the stretching of the bindu. This universe, the physics, and when the rishis talk about it, it's not just the physical universe. They're talking about the physical, the molecular, the electronic. Bhu Bhuva Swaha. Now, the first energy created out of this bindu followed this bindu, that is the dot in between, the stretching, and it was called as Akash. And this is the symbol of Akash Tattva, a circle with a dot inside. The bindu has stretched to create space. Initially there was no space, and it stretched to create space. Now, this Akash is not an empty space, it is full of energy, and that is why it is also called as prana. It is also called as prana, the most subtle prana. Now, if we see in this stretching, because the circle was on the circle. Yeah, a downward movement. This downward movement gave rise to the water element, then a going to and fro movement, which is called the Vayu Tattva or the wind element, and a rising movement called the fire element. So these three elements, the wind, the water and the fire, when they are not doing any creation, these three forces, when they are not doing any, they become the Akash Tattva, the space. They dissolve into space. They are in a state of rhythm and balance. And when they do creation, they become the fifth element called Prithvi, the earth element, which is denoted by a square. If you've not followed, just ask me questions. If you've not. So, what are these five elements? They are just five forms of motion. There are five forms of motion. The initial motion was a dot with the stretching, right? And that gave rise to the sky element or the ether, the Akash. Within that was these other motion, downward motion, Jal Tattva, the upward motion, the fire element or Agni Tattva, and the going to and fro motion, which is called as Vayu Tattva. These three, it is through them that the universe was built. When they again go back into rhythm and balance and the universe goes back, they become space or Akash. When they create something, the chair or table or us, then it becomes Prithvi Tattva or the earth element. The bindu denotes the desire of God to create, the dot. Now here, when we studied geometry, what was a dot? In school, when we studied geometry, what was a dot? Huh? Something which has no, what do you call, length, breadth or thickness. Something which, right, has no, so then it is not occupying any space, right? It has no mass, no length, breadth, it has no weight. How does Euclid start his geometry? What is the first sentence which Euclid writes in his geometry? Suppose there is a point. You have to suppose there is a dot. So our whole thing is starting from, we suppose God had his desire, and that desire was a dot, a point, and then from that all this came. That is how we are going to study these laws. And that point was the highest vibration, or the point of no vibration, that which is vibrates. Right? Now is it clear? Yeah. So Then of course Euclid goes ahead, when the point moves it becomes a line, and when the line moves it becomes a plane, and the plane moves it becomes a three-dimensional object, and we see the world in three-dimensional space, right? Now, this process of creation, it has a basic map, and we are going to talk about that map. And if we want to go anywhere, if we want to go on a journey, we need a map of where we are going. Supposing we are going from Ahmedabad to Delhi, then we need a map. From Ahmedabad you go to Jaipur, from Jaipur you go to some other place and you reach Delhi. So you have the map. Similarly, from where we are, if we want to experience God, what is the inner map? And we're going to talk about that map in the next few days, how to experience that map.
One question.
Yeah.
So you said the point and the five elements and stuff, but there's also you talked about the Ichha Shakti, the intention to create. Is that outside the realm of these the five tattvas
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Okay, so you've been to a Shiva temple? What is the types of Shiva lings? Which is the most famous type? The Swayambhu. The Swayambhu ling. Be means to be, and to be within your own being. So the Hindu Shastra says that within Paramatma, within the Absolute, there are three, what do you call, whether you call it energies or vibration, what you want to call it. His desire energy, Ichha Shakti, his knowledge energy, Gyan Shakti, and his moving energy, Kriya Shakti. Now, where that came from is a wrong question. Yeah, because that is a question of the logical mind, and the logical mind is an idiot. It cannot experience that, right? So this is as far as we can go. So it is his desire which manifested as Shakti or a Bindu. But that Bindu was Shiv and Shakti, and we have a whole series of where Shiv and Shakti separated. But I don't want to go into that. It will be very, what you call, complicated. So there are different stages of Kala, Sadashiv, different stages where they break up. It's very interesting, but it's not a part of our, what you call, talk here. And then Shakti creates the universe. What is Shakti? She is three forces, right? When three forces are in balance, it becomes Akash Tattva. When three forces make any creation, it becomes Prithvi Tattva. The three forces, they are the water element, the fire element, and the what you call wind element. Now is it clear?
In balance, it becomes Akasha Tattva. But don't they have to be in balance also to create?
No, all creation is imbalance.
Oh,
All creation is imbalance. The minute it is balance, it goes back into pralay. Now we call these as three forces, and we must understand the difference between energy and force. Would you like to explain? Huh?
Yes. So if we look at physics, there's three distinct terms that we have. There is energy, there is force, and then there is work. Now, energy means energy that is just flowing around, right? So let's say there is air that is there here. Air has a lot of atoms and molecules that are moving around, right? There's a lot of energy in this air. But this energy is not pushing me around, right, or pulling me around. Why? Because this energy is scattered in all different directions. Everything is moving in different directions. So there is energy, but there is no net force in this energy. But if I am able to, let's say, suck that air in a certain direction, right? And then it becomes wind, right? And then it has a certain direction. So when energy has a certain direction, it becomes force. Now, if there is force, does it mean that I'm able to do work? Because I need a force that is strong enough to be able to cause a certain displacement or movement. So for example, right now I'm trying to move, but I'm not because there's friction. But if I'm able to give more force, then I move forward, right? This means that I'm able to do work because there is movement. So there is energy, but energy directed in a certain direction, a useful energy that becomes force. And when force causes some displacement, some change, that becomes work.
Right. So, and this is very beautiful because in Indian terminology we use the word sadhana, not the actress sadhana, right? We use the word sadhana, that is when we do our, but Gurdjieff calls it as inner work, right? So I may have energy, but I'm pushing this and it is not moving, then even though energy is trying to create force, there is no work done because this is not moving. So when we want to transform inside, we have to create force out of that energy, and that force which we create has to do some work inside. So now in spirituality there are two directions, out and in, right? So out means down, in means up. So in creation, energy moves from up to down or into out. And when I want to experience the reverse creation, I have to create a force which can move from down to up. That this force many people call as Kundalini is a different thing, but we have to be able to create this force. So we've just touched upon what is the difference between energy and force. So force is that which gives energy a direction and is able to displace something to create work. Now, how do we lose force in life? How do we lose force in life? Huh? Yeah. When we react. When we react, right? When we are in negative emotion, we lose force. Now, if we want to awaken from this dream of life, then we need that force which we are throwing out in negative emotions, right? Let us take this in another way. Supposing we have a little bit of money, right? And somebody wants to take that money away from us, right? And what will that person do? Now, when we are looking away, he will take that money away from us. Or when we are not aware of it, he'll take that money away from us. Similarly, every night when we go to sleep, when we go to bed, our soul goes inside to meet the inner spirit. And at one point in deep sleep, the soul and spirit merge. As we come out of deep sleep, the soul comes out of the spirit and it comes with a very powerful energy. Unless we have this energy, we cannot practice any form of spirituality. The energy to realize the divine comes from the divine, right? And so it is this energy which we gather in deep sleep. Now, there are people who want this. We have woken up in the morning with so much of energy, so much of pocket money, right? Now there are people who want to take this pocket money from us. And who is it that wants to take the pocket money from us? Nature. Nature. Why does nature want to steal energy from man? Why does nature want to steal energy from man? Come on, tell me. Why does nature want to steal energy from man? What is nature's source of energy? What is nature's source of energy? Where does nature get all its energy? From the sun. From the sun, right? We say we eat food, we get energy, right? So where does that food come from? From the sun, right? We say we breathe, we get energy. Where does that come from? Comes from the sun, right? So all nature's energy comes from the sun. But behind the sun, there is a divine sun. And that divine sun is sitting in everyone. So in deep sleep, we meet that divine sun and come back with some very powerful energy. And nature wants that energy because she cannot produce that energy. She wants it for her own purpose, right? What does she do? What does she do? Say it's very hot. I wake up in the morning and it's very hot. I've got irritated. What happens? That fine energy which I collect at night, I have given to nature. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Or the wife says that make your own tea, I'm not going to make tea for you. And I get upset with the wife, then the fine energy which I've collected at night, I give to nature. So whenever we react, whenever we, what do you call, indulge in any form of negativity, we are giving that fine energy which we have collected, which is ours. We have to use it for our purpose. We are giving it back to nature. Nature uses it for her purpose. She has got an energy which has not come from the sun, which has not come from the sun. It has come from some higher source than the son of the sun. Yeah.
So this losing of energy by this negativity, does it relate to the karma as well? Because they say that don't waste your karma or increase your karma by showing this negativity or reacting.
What is karma?
Action or a reaction to any kind of action.
Okay. I'll try to explain it very simply, in a very simple way. We won't go into the philosophy of karma. It's too, you and I both will have Advil, right? Okay. So, but if you understand it, you've understood the philosophy totally. You don't have to understand that. Supposing I lose this energy, which I've gathered in the night in deep sleep, by getting angry. By getting angry. Right? Why have I got angry? What is the cause of my anger?
Reaction to some.
Okay, so I'll say you insulted me, that's why I got. True? No, what does karma say? Come on, say it. You talked about karma, right? You insulted me early in the morning. I had this beautiful energy which I gathered in the night and I wasted it all. By 12 o'clock in the morning, I'm bankrupt, no pocket money left. When next month my mother and father send the money order, I'll have something, to go to a restaurant and eat, right? Okay. Why did I get, what is the cause of anger? Tell me, what is the cause of, anyone can answer.
Disagreement with something.
Okay. Let's talk about something else and come back to anger. Supposing there's a potter, one who makes clay pots, right? What does he use to make his pots? Clay. Clay. Huh? The clay. Yeah, but we'll just take clay just now. If there is no clay, can he make a pot? Cannot make a pot. Right? So clay is the material by which you make a pot. Right? In the Indian Shastra, the potter is called as Nimit. The clay is called as Upadan, the material. Right? We can take the Western Shastra. The potter is called as the instrumental cause, and the clay is called as the material cause. Can you understand what I am trying to say? Now, supposing there is no clay, can the potter make a pot? Right? If within me there is no material called anger, if 100 potters come and insult me, can I get angry? No. So what is the cause of anger?
Within you, you had an anger.
I am already holding the material called anger within me. Can you understand what I am trying to say? I am already holding the material called anger within me. That is the material cause. You insulting me are the instrumental cause. Instrumental cause.
Isn't anger an emotional reaction?
But it is still a material. It's still a material. Now, what is that material which I am holding inside, the anger which I am holding inside? What kind of karma? There are three kinds of karma. What karma is that? Sanchit karma, the accumulated karma. The accumulated karma. Just draw it for them. So, you didn't get it? No, again I'll come to it. If there is no material called anger, can I get angry? No, not possible, right? Now, then show that 100 units of anger. Now, when I get angry, what happens? When I get angry, what happens? Supposing in my unconscious mind, I am holding 100 units of anger. This is just to give you an example. You want to know karma, I am giving it to you in very, what do you call, ordinary, this thing. I am holding 100 units of anger. Now, when you insult me, what happens? What happens? Out of those 100 units, one comes from the unconscious mind to the angers are there. See, one came out and one I created. One I created by getting angry on you. Right? So now, how many go back? Two go back, no? One came out. So this one came out. One came out. What do we call it in karma? That 100 which was lying there, we call it as Sanchit karma. One came out, it is called as Kriyaman, the active karma. The active karma. Right? But one created one friend, Prarabdha karma, and that goes back to meet the Sanchit karma. Can you understand now the law of karma? This is a simple law of karma. For anger, you can substitute what you want. Huh?
The anger element never gets destroyed.
It will get destroyed. It will transform into something higher. Now, let's go a little deeper into this. Till now, you understood what is karma? Right. Okay. Now, why did you insult me? Why did you insult me? You're talking of karma, so now, why did you insult me? Come on, come on.
I invited you.
Is it that this 100 units of anger, they wanted to become 101? So they wanted a situation where they, what do you call, I become angry so they can create one more anger. So did they send you an invitation letter to insult me? Can you see what is karma? Is this 100 units of anger having an effect on all the events of my life? Can you get it? Right? That is karma. I think the events are coming to meet me, they are all new events. No new events are coming to meet me. And I am holding so much of stuff inside that is sending the invitation letter. Can you get it? And that is why I say it is the karma being executed. Now let's go back to this. 1 unit of anger comes out, right? And instead of I getting angry, I say I don't want to get angry. I want to look at it from far away, as if I'm looking at this chair. I want to look at the anger inside of me, which is called self-observation, right? Self-observation. And when you go into karma, they have different laws. They call it jati, ayu, bhoga, right? I won't go into that. But say anger has a ayu, a life. It has a lifespan. Say the lifespan is, say, 2 minutes. Say the lifespan is 2 minutes. So this 1 unit of anger has come out. It has a lifespan of 2 minutes, and if I can separate from it as 2 minutes, which in yoga is called as dharana, dhyana, samadhi, I separate from it for 2 minutes, it does not remain anger. It transforms into a force which I can use for my spirituality, for my journey, inner journey. It transforms into something higher just by my looking at it, because anger is darkness and my observing is light. Can you get what I'm trying to say? Then what remains inside? 99. Will that change the events of my life? Has my karma changed? Because now 100 is not inviting. Who is inviting? 99. You get what I'm trying to say? What?
Let me continue this new thing. Now I have one other follow-up question.
Yeah.
So there are some short-tempered people and there are some normal people. So does that mean that short-tempered people has 1,000 anger, or they have 100, but the tendency to transfer one is very quick than
No.
normal other people?
No, they have 1,000,
They have 1,000.
right? Sadhana is nothing. Inner journey is nothing but being free of this 100 units. And this is a small example. I've taken anger. Like that, we have so many things. I've just taken a small anger. Can you see? I come to your home and I may see your TV, and suddenly I want a TV like this. Can you see that feeling of jealousy comes? So it doesn't have to be anger. The jati could be anything. What I'm trying to say, it could be of any jat. Can you get what I'm trying to say? But what I'm just giving you a simple example to make you understand that here 1 unit of anger, I reacted, and I paused the reaction. I stopped the reaction. I'm looking at that anger. I don't want to be angry. I'm not going to allow it to. So it will transform. So now how many remain inside? 99. If it had created a new friend by my getting angry, then it would have been 101. Now I would be more short-tempered. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because now the pattern of anger has become even deeper. But I destroyed one. Will it change my whole life? That moksha from one pattern of anger, that freedom from one pattern of anger, will it change my whole life? Just draw the line. Just draw a line. Now, supposing I take this as my line of linear time from birth to death. There are other times which we are going to go into in this. There is also a vertical time, different time, but just I'm just taking this from birth to death. And put those X's as different events in my life. Now, these are different events. Life is nothing but different events coming to meet me. Try to understand the essence of the event. Don't try to take the form of the event. Right? Now, if I'm holding a lot of suffering inside, the essence of the event is suffering. You may say that yesterday I was poor, today I have more money. So where is the suffering in my life? But that more money is only going to bring me suffering because suffering has invited it. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Right? We say, "Arey, he has earned so much of money, that is good karma he must have done." Money has nothing to do with karma. Whether money brings happiness or whether money brings suffering has to do with karma. You understand what I'm trying to say? Right? When I have no money, I may have a desire for a little bit of money. But when I have so much of money, I may have a desire for so much of money. So the karma has put me into more suffering. The money has put me into more suffering. Can you get what I'm saying? So don't take the events of life in their physical form, but take them as in their essence. Now, these are the events of life which are going to come to meet me. Whom are these events of life coming to meet? Whom are these events of life coming to meet? What's your name? What's your name? Chirag. Are they coming to meet Chirag? They don't know your name. How are they coming to meet you? They can't come to meet you. So, whom are those events of life coming to meet?
My experience.
Those 100 angers. Those 100 angers. Can you get what I'm saying? Now, this is my linear time, birth to death. Supposing at this point there is a accident in my life. An accident. Whom is that accident coming to meet? 100 angers. But here I have observed one anger. How many are there now? 99. Does my line of time change? Does my line of time change? Will I now invite that accident, or will that accident go from below and I'll go from above? Will the events of my life change? Can you get what I'm trying to say? Sermon. What were the 4 noble truths he talked about? There is pain.
Pain is inevitable.
There is pain. There is a cause of pain. What is the cause of pain? 100 angers. That cause can be known and removed. And when the cause is removed, pain which was yet to come can be avoided. Heyam dukham anagatam. Right?
So you said there is pain first, right? What that is coming from where? Somebody
I'm inviting it.
coming from somebody else or somebody.
It is your collected karma which is inviting the pain.
It can come from nature also.
It cannot come from anywhere. It is only come from your invitation.
But from somewhere, right?
That is the instrumental cause. You are inviting it. You are inviting it. Right? Can you get what I'm trying to say? Now, if you change that, supposing I'm holding a lot of pain inside and I go to a homeopathic doctor, he'll say, you better get rid of the pain, otherwise you will get blood pressure tomorrow. Right? So in homeopathy, they they give you a medicine to get rid of your anger. Right? So you avoid blood pressure medicine. Right? Okay. So the material called pain is lying within me. That material called pain is trying to increase its members of its political party. right? All the political parties want more members. How does it do it? By bringing an event in life where I feel pain and I suffer the pain. Now, if that event comes in life and I say I don't want to suffer, it is in my hands, હું દુઃખી થવા નથી માંગતો, then that pain can't do anything to me. Then that pain which was lying inside has now reduced in momentum. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Right? I have freed myself from the law of karma. Can you get it? And this is how we rise above karma. And a point must come in our lives when we do not create any new karma. But that can only come when the go down is empty. Right? Now, we'll talk a little more deeper now that we've come here.
When you say when the go down is empty, that's called moksha.
Even if to be free from one, sir, is moksha. To be free from even one is because you've tasted the blood. And once you've tasted it, then you are going to go for that. You're going to work on yourself. You're going to become more conscious of what is coming out of your unconscious mind. And you're going to separate from it and not allow it to, what do you call, lead your life. Okay, now we'll go a little deeper into this. We talked about linear time, which is the Indian Shastra which talks about instrumental cause and material cause. The deep Shastra. Come on, everybody knows. What is Krishna telling Arjun? What is Krishna telling Arjun? You are not the cause of their death. You are only the nimit, the instrumental cause. Your arrow is only the instrumental cause. Death, much law I have already sent to their homes. The material called death, I have already sent to their homes. Right? Arjun had this ego that I am killing them. Right? But he says, don't have that ego. If you have the ego, then you are the doer. You will create more karma. But when you are not the doer, you have separated, you have not been hypnotized, then you do not create karma. And this is the only Shastra in the world which says that if you do it through karta bhav, even hinsa is ahimsa. And if you do it, if you do it without karta bhav, even hinsa is ahimsa. Even killing the person, that doesn't give you a license to kill, right? Only James Bond had the license to kill, right? And if you love through karta bhav, then it is hinsa. It is not this thing. It's the only Shastra in the world. So he's talking about the same thing, the instrumental cause and the material cause. He says the material called death, I have already sent to their homes. You don't bother. You have to send the final postcard that you have died. They'll open the postcard. That is your arrow. You have died, and that's it. It's very difficult to understand this because we can only think in linear time. That first the arrow goes and then death comes. Right? But people who have risen to a certain level, they can see death hovering above for a few days before they go. Death has already come to their home. Now only the final arrow. Right? It could be anything, a heart attack or whatever. That is the final arrow, but death was already there. You understand? So, that is there in this. Now, we'll talk a little deeper, more deeper in this, go a little deeper. Say, we take one line of time and we call it the law of accident. You have to rub this out, huh? So we take one line of time and we call it the law of accident. Are we under this law? Why are we under this law? Why are we under this law? See, one anger came out of the unconscious mind and I became angry. Right? I was automatically seduced by that anger. I was automatically enticed by that anger. It pulled me, hypnotized me, and I became angry. Is it an accident or not an accident? It is an accident. It is an accident. I have not made any effort against. It's just happened automatically, mechanically. It's an accident. Let's take another example. Supposing I fail in the exam and I get depression. What is the exam? It acted as an accident. It acted as an accident. I failed in the exam, so the exam was an accident for me. You insulted me, I got angry, your insulting was an accident for me. Don't take accident as two cars banging with each other, right? So whole day am I living in this law of accident? Everything is happening due to outer circumstances. See, plants respond to external stimuli. Animals respond to external stimuli. They have no choice. Animals have no choice. Man has a choice. This choice is called as free will. He has only one free will, whether to respond mechanically to external stimuli or respond through his intelligence, respond through his awareness. Now we can take it in another example. If one lion comes in heat, right, what happens to all the other lions? They all come into heat. They don't have a choice. Lion does not have a choice, right? He cannot say, like man says, that I practice brahmacharya, I won't come in heat, right? He comes in heat, he has to look for his mate, and that's it. Whilst man can say, I can abstain. So that is man's free choice. Animals don't have free choice. Plants don't have free choice, right? So if you see a field of sunflowers and the sun rises, all the sunflowers have to look at the sun. One cannot say, today I don't want to go to office, my holiday, right? Can you see? Now, this free will of man is what allows him to rise on the spiritual path.